You're watching Pop Culture Paradox, theories nobody asked for. On this episode, we interview underground movie director Pete Jacelone, who is known for his works including Psycho Sisters, The Killer Clown Meets the Candyman, and The Cannibal Killer, the real story of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Here he is, Pete Jacelone, for taking time out of your schedule to talk with us here. And why don't we start out with your most current movie right now? People want to see your most latest work. That's the one that they will be going to, right? The Killer Clown Meets the Candyman.
Yes, the real story of Jeffrey Dahmer. You know, I've always been fascinated, Dwayne, with serial killers. I mean, there's so many of them out there in the world now. Scientists believe there could be, psychologists believe there could be as many as 13 million sociopaths, and of that, as many as one in a couple of hundred could have serial killer tendencies. So they're out there. They're the real monsters of the earth. And just a little bit, just before I get into the movie, if you don't mind, it's all about horror and monster movies. That's my passion, making horror movies. And if you think about it, throughout history, the monsters that we've come to love are really evil embodied in human form, like vampires, zombies. Well, they're all fake, but what's real are serial killers, and they are evil embodied in human form. They look normal. Some of them are like Jeffrey Dahmer was very well connected. All his neighbors loved him. They tried to fix him up with girls. Of course, he didn't like girls. He liked guys permanently. But serial killers fascinate me. So recently, I've been obsessed with doing real historically accurate serial killers and giving them a human spin by using actual quotes. So the real story of Jeffrey Dahmer. We have a great actor, Giancarlo Herrera, playing Jeffrey Dahmer, and we try to present them in a humanistic way. But unlike Hollywood, no holds barred when it comes to the murders. We show exactly what happens as accurately and realistically as we can. And as a result, the movie is sometimes controversial. People sometimes leave the theater prematurely, but yeah, I'm very proud of the movie, Jeffrey Dahmer, the real story of, the Cannibal Killer, the real story of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Well, I do look forward to seeing that, but the last one that I saw, which was the Killer Clown Meets the Candyman, was almost kind of a historical revisionism in a way, like bringing the two together. I mean, we don't know.
Yes. Now Hollywood's done that before. Like the House of Frankenstein. They used to bring like Frankenstein with Dracula. So we were thinking, suppose a couple of serial killers met. So we have John Gacy, who killed about 33 young men in the 70s in Chicago. We have him meeting up with Dean Corll, who was almost at the same time murdering young men. He killed about 30 as well in Texas. So we kind of put them together. And it turns out that after our movie was made, there's been some recent speculation that they might have met, or they might have at least been aware of each other and what they've been doing, and almost copied each other even before law enforcement came in. It's a really interesting movie. The Killer Clown Meets the Candyman. John Gacy. We have Jeremy Woodworth playing. He's a pogo impersonator. Travels around the country imitating pogo and insults people. And playing Dean Corll, we have Edward X. Young, extraordinary actor. And the movie's won Best Picture and Best Actors. Both actors have won some awards. It's a very disturbing movie, The Killer Clown Meets the Candyman. And the sequel is The Cannibal Killer, the real story of Jeffrey Dahmer. And now we're making a third movie, which is going to be an anthology of various serial killers. We've got Ted Bundy, Dennis Nielsen, the Son of Sam. And the movie will be told by these actual killers narrating, even as I'm narrating, and then it'll cut to their various crimes. And I think it's going to be pretty unique, and I don't think anybody's attempted that scope of film, realistically, historically based, no holes barred, showing the murders, but yet being as respectful as we can to the real victim of these crimes.
Interesting about Ted Bundy. I mean, I remember that was happening when I was in high school. Just kind of dating myself at that time. But I was actually living in Lake City, Florida, when Kimberly Ann Leach was kidnapped.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah, I remember when that happened, and I remember John Gacy in these films. People are fascinated with serial killers. I don't know why. They're almost like the anti-heroes. But in mainstream media, is always Netflix and the Crime Channel, the History Channel. They're always coming out with shows about serial killers. But what they fall short. They don't show anything. They just like we want to see the meat and potatoes. So I'm known for shooting death scenes. I've shot death scenes in my films since the early '90s, and we like depicting the real horror as much as we can. So that's what what makes our movies stand apart. They're entertaining, but yet, when it comes to the murders, what can I say?
Well, going back to the very beginning, I do remember the first movie that I saw that you actually not directed, but wrote and were involved with was Duck, and I actually arranged 2 screenings of that in Long Beach, California, back in the early 2000s. And I got some.
I do remember when you screened that, Dwayne. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I mean, but I remember like during some of the more graphic scenes, the audience, the audience that was there, that little gallery, some of them were actually like jumping and cheering, and I'm like going,
Yeah.
To take this.
Well, yeah, Duck was unique. Well, my background is I've been doing independent films since 1995. That I think pretty much dates me. And I was involved in the project Psycho Sisters, and I met a couple of young filmmakers who contributed music to that project, Bill Hellfire and Joey Smack. And Bill Hellfire and Joey Smack formed Factory 2000, and they were very prolific back in the late 90s, doing very controversial underground films, and we became friends. When Columbine happened, I mean, of course, everyone was upset. It was an incredible disaster, but we were fascinated by the exploitation that took place from Main Street media. I mean, all of a sudden, Main Street media was exploiting the victims. First of all, they blamed rock music. They blamed the internet. They blamed video games. It was just ridiculous. So Bill and I got together, and we wanted to make a movie that was a social satire. That was a social satire, but that discussed how this really happened, how high school shootings really happened, the dynamics of the students, the bullies, all the stereotypes that we know, the jocks and the nerds. So we came together with this idea. I threw together some ideas, and we co-wrote it. We wrote it with some high school students and some college students at the time. But we did it 1 month after Columbine. We kind of did it in secrecy. And the movie came out early in that same year, or early the following year. Columbine happened in April. The movie came out in December. And it was met with a lot of controversy. We had a screening at CBGB's and at William Patterson, and we got in trouble because one of the scenes that we shot was in a school. We had the actors, Bill and Joey, were the actors, and we had them taking out guns. It's a very good scene in the movie. You see them taking out guns and walking toward the school with these guns. And we shot about 7:00 in the morning on a Sunday in the middle of the summer at this school. But the police saw it. They were tipped off by somebody, and the police saw it, and they said, "Wait a minute, you've got guns on school property. That's a crime." So they arrested the filmmakers. They arrested Bill and Joe, and I got in trouble. I was behind the camera, so I wasn't arrested, but I was investigated by the FBI, and it was a terrible thing. We were on all the news networks one night. I mean, every NBC, CBS, they were talking about Columbine. They made it sound like we were the criminals, right. Copycat. Copycat. We're copying Columbine. We're making fun of Columbine. I don't think anybody actually saw the movie, any of the news broadcasters. They just focused on how evil we were to make fun of this event.
After the pandemic and after the whole crisis with Hollywood movies and all, everybody's trying to keep their budgets down. And over here in Las Vegas, well, we got a place called the Indie Film Factory where they occasionally give seminars. And one thing they're really emphasizing is micro budgeting. And it occurred to me, that's what you've been doing this whole time since the 90s.
Yep. It's not about big budget. It's about trying to create as higher production value as you can with what you have. I mean, obviously you need a good camera and you need some lighting and good sound, but it's not about budget. I mean, a duck cost just a couple of $1,000. That was mainly like pizza pies and things like that, for the actors. And even nowadays, we keep the budgets down. Everybody gets paid, but we don't hire a million people. We don't have high-end catering. And we're able to produce what I feel are big budget looking movies for our level. I mean, we're low budget independents. I mean, we can't compare with Hollywood, but I think what we produce stands up to some of the work in Hollywood. It's broadcast quality. Some of the stuff gets picked up and appears on television. And Netflix used to screen some of my movies, but I mean, they're not very friendly now to independents. Amazon is a venue that we've also screened. So. Yeah, Duck was amazing, and what's really amazing, it's been re-released all these years later, like 25 years later on Blu-ray. We remastered it from the original tapes, and it's you should get it. It has a whole new life, and hopefully a whole new audience. I think kids nowadays might be shocked by by what we did. And it's interesting that it's still going on. There's still high school shootings, and
I know
nothing has changed. But that was a lot of fun to make. Duck, Carbine High Massacre.
Yeah, when it came out, I remember one thing that almost every article that I read on the subject was that the people who were working in the movie, some of them were high school students themselves. So it created the impression that these were high school students making a problem about an issue that was actually concerning them. And let's see, we did talk about it, I believe, before the recording, but could high school students even get away with making anything like that today in this environment?
No, I don't think high school students would have the balls to do anything like what we did back then. And we did allow our student actors to contribute as much as they could in terms of, if they had any ideas. It was mainly Joey Smack and Bill Hellfire that did the bulk of the writing. Joey Smack in particular, who's passed on. I don't know if you know that Joey Smack died 2 years ago. He was one of our film partners, and I contributed a lot. I think I contributed more of the satirical elements, whereas Joey and Bill contributed more of the social aspects about how kids act in those days. And what's interesting, we got a lot of hate mail from the parents of the real Columbine, but I got a beautiful letter from an actual Columbine student that saw the movie, and she said, I still remember the quote as if I got the letter yesterday. Duck, it's too disturbing to watch, but too truthful to look away from. So here's the impression of somebody who actually survived Columbine, saw the movie, and thought, hey, wow, these guys knew what they were doing. We really tried to get into and nobody has names. They're all like the jock, the nerd, the Bible girl. They're all stereotype people except the killers. So we're criticized for taking the point of view of the killers, but it really doesn't. It tries to analyze the situation in a truthful way, not a biased way. I mean, we don't favor the killers. We hate them because they did very bad things, but there was a reason why they did that. And I think, we didn't think about that enough then or now, why these things happen. I mean, something happens, a cop shot a guy. Well, yeah, but what happened like the day before and the week before? Like, how did this lead up to this?
Right.
And that's something that I think filmmakers should expound more. The reason why things happen socially and politically, not just the event itself. So I think it's an intelligent movie, and it still stands up today. I wish we shot it a little, on better. I mean, there was no digital back then. It was like SVHS tape, so it's kind of grainy, but Hey, what do you want? It is what it is.
Well, one
A lot of fun.
character that kind of resonates with me more now than it did then was the janitor. And we were talking about this before the taping. And the thing about him is he's like a magnet of conspiracy theories, pretty much. And we were mentioning, I had forgotten that there were conspiracy theories going on. Of course, trying to blame rock music and all for it. But today it's through the roof with people saying that, some people saying that these things never even happened.
That's right. The moon landing and high school shooting. Yeah. Well, back then they thought that one of the conspiracy theories was that the boys, the kids that the Columbine killers, were influenced by the government, or perhaps somebody they were hypnotized, or their brains were altered. And there was a third shooter, a third killer, and you could even see some. I think there's still some videotapes where you see a person and supposedly the third gunman or the third killer.
I forgot about
so we tried to exploit that. Did you know that I play the janitor in that movie?
Oh wow! So you're the janitor.
Don't tell anybody, but yeah, that's me. Because you don't see my face, so I guess I could get in trouble now for it.
Yes, you're just wearing like kind of a hazmat suit through the whole movie, practically.
Yeah. And I'm actually the one that blows up the school at the end. So I guess I could be accused of carrying this. We said this. It was made from a propane tank. It was a bomb, and I do appear on school property with this. So I suppose all these years later, I could get in trouble.
Well, okay, backtrack. You mentioned something, and I realized that I was mistaken on one point. I was referring to Duck like it was one of your earliest movies, but then you were saying that you were working on Psycho Sisters at the time. So,
yeah.
So I thought it sounds like that you.
Duck happened in 1999. Right. I believe 1999. Columbine shooting was April 20th, I believe, 1999. My first film was 1995. In collaboration with Wave Studios, who you may have heard of, Psycho Sisters, and that actually is it's about serial killers, it's about female serial killers. Back then, there was a lot of these slashers where women were getting killed. I was one of the first to turn things around and have male victims, which I still do now. I'm attracted or interested in male victim serial killers like John Gacy, Jeffrey Dahmer, and back then we did Psycho Sisters. Where they lure these college students. It's a revenge film. Their younger sister is raped and murdered, and they go on a revenge spree, and they lure these college students to their house, and they seduce them, and then they kill them, and they cut off their dicks and put them in jars. And that movie also was pretty out there. And that also got the royal treatment recently, and has been re-released on Blu-ray. And even before Duck, we did a film, Psycho Sisters, too, with J.J. North and Theresa Lynn, in collaboration with Mike Rasso from EI Studios. And that movie got an international distribution. It's been in maybe 4 or 5 languages. Psycho Sisters, you should check it out. And that's we're remastering that on 4K for release next year. So some of this old stuff is definitely coming back. But I've been making stuff since the 90s. And I love it, and it's just a lot. I'm not going to stop. It's just a lot of fun to keep on doing it.
in today's age where we're streaming things, we're streaming more and more. What is the big difference between how you're approaching making movies, pitching projects, and all today versus how you would do it, say, back during the mid '90s?
Yeah, it sucks. Back then there weren't a lot of people doing what we're doing. There was a few people shooting on video, shot on video. J.R. Bookwalder comes to mind. The Dead Next Door, incredible filmmaker. Studer McRae. There was just Bill and Joe, of course, Factory 2000. I was doing it, and but now, any soccer mom with a camera can shoot. You can shoot a film on your phone. So there's a lot more out there. And frankly, I hate to say, but a lot more crap. Now, back in the old days, we would seek distribution, and we used to get maybe $10,000, $20,000 advance, which is not a tremendous amount of money. But now you look for distribution. They'll say, okay, you pay us, and then we'll try to get your film distributed. It's very difficult to get a distribution deal. I used to sell a lot of DVDs on my old site. I used to have the Serial Killers Underground site back in the late 90s, and sell a shitload of DVDs. Now, if I sell like one, every couple of weeks, it's a lot. Everything is streaming, everything is digital, so it's a lot more difficult to get distribution deals. You've got to, you've got to get into Amazon or Netflix if you're lucky, and the streaming pays shit unless you hit on something, hit the big time, which I never did, unfortunately, like the Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity. These are examples of our level of filmmaking that just hit the right chord and were picked up for major distribution deals, like $1 million deals. Most of us still doing this. I mean, I'm doing okay, but haven't hit the big time. I figured out a way to market my downloads digitally and make some money. But most filmmakers are really struggling in doing it. You just hope that it gets picked up and you land a distribution deals, make a few bucks, or at least make your money back. But no, it's totally different now. There's still opportunities. I would never discourage a young filmmaker from trying to create something, but you really got to be different and unique. And I think what we're doing, what I'm doing, I think is a little bit different and unique. And I think that's why I'm still alive and still able to produce new stuff. And thankfully, people are starting to look at our old stuff again. The stuff shot on videos, it's having a new life. I mean, VHS is coming back. I went to a VHS convention last year, actually, pre-COVID.
VHS convention?
VHS, tape, videotape. And it was amazing. The people that are trading and trying to acquire old videotape. I got a whole shitload in my closets back here. I pulled out an old first edition of my original movie. They sell for like a couple $100. Like people are now collecting records are coming back. So I think there is a whole revival of some of the pre-digital content, thankfully. But no, things are different. It's very difficult to make it as an independent filmmaker now. Like I said, you really have to hit it. You have to hit something.
I mean, I remember back then the thing was, okay, how many conventions can we go to? How many film festivals? Now I'm thinking, would you just ditch your film festival budget and just hire a film aggregator or some? I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but somebody.
Well, that is an option. Yeah, that's an option. I've been approached by people that say, well, for a fee, they can get our film out there, and so I think that is an option for many filmmakers. There still are distribution opportunities, and there's still some distributors out here that'll pick up your film. I just don't know if how much money you're going to make from that. And the convention is another route. I just did the Chiller Theater horror convention a couple of weeks ago, Halloween weekend, and that had been obviously closed since pre-COVID. I had a table and I had some of my actors there. I had Ed X, who appears in a lot of my movies, Edward X. Young. Johnny Link was supposed to be there. He died though. Johnny Link passed away. Just a couple of days ago. He was in Duck, and he was in a lot of my old movies. A great film, independent film actor. But I had a table. I had my stuff, and it's amazing how many people actually know me and want some of my old stuff. And we met a lot of other filmmakers, a lot of fans. So that is a way to also market your film, to hit the film festivals, hit the horror conventions, which are thankfully starting to come back now. The New Jersey Horror Con was actually just today in Atlantic City. I didn't attend. My film screened, the Jeffrey Dahmer film screened 2 months ago in Atlantic City. It was nominated for Best Picture, but it didn't get it.
What are the big conventions out here where I'm at? I'm in Las Vegas. Do you have any conventions coming up in 2022 over here?
In Vegas, a couple of years ago, I did do a film fest when I was with my old partners from Scream Kings. We were out in Vegas and we did a film festival. But no, is there anything good out there? I mean, do they have any horror conventions in Vegas? I would think they have a lot.
Well, the conventions kind of took a dive last year in 2020.
You're just coming to life now, right? I mean, it's just opening up.
Right. So we do have a few that are coming up. I keep hearing, but it's always like almost after the fact, like after it's already happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had something. Bruce Campbell was over here for something over the Plaza Hotel. So
cool.
There was some kind of a horror fan thing going on over there.
I would love to come out there and visit you. You should organize something.
Yeah, I love that. That's why I'm asking in advance so I can prepare for 2022 for anything that might be coming on out here. So
that's right. How is it there? How's the lockdown? Are you like, is everything open now? I know the Beatles show opened up again, and
by and large it is. We're finally allowing foreign tourists to come, and that's really the bread and butter.
Right.
That really was. I had been working, by the way, as a tour booker. And I remember when the lockdowns were just slowly starting to happening, and it was like, well, is this going to be? Is this for real or not? Like, I hear that they're closing down in Washington. Are they going to be closing down in Vegas? And then just seeing how it gradually happened. And during the lockdown, there was nothing was on the street. You can see YouTube movies were.
Oh my God!
And I'm spending my time watching movies like The Last Man on Earth. I actually have good memories of the lockdown. I don't know why.
Yeah, we were in the same thing. I was in the middle. I was starting that third movie, and I was booked, and it was just the same weekend that they locked down. I had to cancel everything, and we were going nuts. But I made a movie during the lockdown. Did you see my movie? Take My Breath Away. I was going crazy, so we wrote a screenplay that involved 13 actors. So I contacted 13 of my favorite actors, mainly film students, high school kids, college kids, and I gave them a script. And they shot it in their own homes, and because we were in quarantine, you couldn't go out. I mean, you're right, the streets were dead. And we put together this horror film. It's on YouTube. You should look it up. Take My Breath Away. Take My Breath. It's free on YouTube. And it's about the quarantine, and it's about kids that are locked in their rooms. And a demon contacts them through the internet and tries to get them to say these magic words and kill them. And I didn't write it. It's a fairly intelligent script. So we were busy even during the quarantine. And then when things opened up, I started shooting again. But no, it hurt a lot of people. But thankfully, people were still creating. We still tried to write, create music, create films as best we could, even during the lockdown. And I think in a lot of ways, independent people did better than mainstream media, who were, they were coming out with these dumb TV shows and, shot in their houses. I think some filmmakers did some better stuff. Some independent.
It was incredible. National television was looking like YouTube.
Yeah,
it was
not as good as YouTube. But thankfully, it's open, and we're still careful. There's still mandates we have to maintain, and. On set. Now, we're non-union, so we're not as strict as Hollywood, but we try to be safe. I still shoot with minimal cast and crew, small scenes. I won't do any big productions, because it's not over yet. There's still a lot of insanity going on, and you do have to be careful. But no, I'm very prolific, and always working on on new projects as best we can. So
well, I'd like to thank you for being on my program today and taking time out of your schedule for this.
Thank you for watching Pop Culture Paradox. And if you liked what you see, please subscribe to this channel and like this video and come back for more.